Toreador en garde, toreador, toreador. Hello. I've been invited to a ball, a Halloween ball that's taking place this Thursday at the Frick, and I'm so excited. One loves going to a ball, but the mandate is that it's a black tie Halloween ball, which poses kind of a challenge. If my 17th century doublet and trunk hose was finished, I think that would be the perfect thing to wear, black and white. But it's far from being finished. So I am left with a challenge. And I've had to brainstorm and figure out how to take my tuxedo and turn it into like something that is appropriate for a Halloween ball at the Frick. And the challenge has actually left me with some great options that I'm so excited about. The first thing that I found was a mask that I'm so happy with. I was looking around for masks. I saw a lot of Venetian style masks for like masquerade balls, and I just felt that that look is so ubiquitous. Unfortunately, because these beautiful Venetian masks have been cheapened by all these plastic reproductions, so the look is just kind of all the same. In searching for something that looked old world and handmade, but also unique, I found an incredible artist. Her name is Libertini, and she is based out of Spokane, Washington. She makes these pure leather masks that are just stunning. Here's the back of the mask, and here is what she calls her raven mask. It's a black leather mask that has been molded over a form when it was wet and then tooled like very intricately. And look at this thing, is just so beautiful. So I'm gonna wear my tuxedo and I'm gonna put this on and probably wear my Munich hunting cape, Rhode, which in certain contexts does look very Halloween-y. This is how I plan to sort of walk in and spend the first little while at the ball, wearing my mask. But I was thinking, I don't want to spend all evening wearing a mask. I don't want my face to be covered the whole time. So I plan to take off the mask at some point and then do a little costume switch. And the idea I had was to sort of put something on my head. And my friend Lizzy had a great idea. Lizzy in Connecticut, I was staying with them a few weeks ago, and she went upstairs and brought these down. These were gifted to her at the Renaissance Fair, where she was doing tarot card readings all summer. If you're interested in a tarot card reading from Lizzy, her Instagram handle, I'll put it in the link to this video and in the description of this video, and you can contact her. She does tarot card readings via Zoom. So Lizzy went upstairs and brought this down, and I put them on, and we had this idea of, these are sort of just the kind of raw sheep horns, ram's horns, that are unpainted, but they're supposed to be decorated. And I loved this idea because there is a ram in Rhode Island that's part of a flock of sheep that I visit every year, and he's so beautiful. And the thing that I've often looked at are his beautiful antlers, horns. What are they called? Antlers or horns? Anyways. Look at his goatee. Nice bristly goatee. Such a handsome man. Yes, you're handsome, ram. Look at your horns. Wow, look at you. They're warm. They're warm. Oh, you're so beautiful. I wish I could kiss you. I thought what I'm going to try to do is paint these so that they look real, so that they look like real horns. And the great thing about these are that they come off of the Alice band and they're paintable. So that's the task for today. I've never done this before, and this is the kind of thing that actually, like around Halloween, I feel like it's a common thing. People that are creative or that are excited about dressing up, they're pushed to be creative. And sometimes you can put together a costume with things that are just at home, and it turns out great. I love that about Halloween, that it just forces you to go into a different mindset and be creative. So for me with these, like, I don't really work with acrylic paint. It's a material that I'm not very familiar with, but I like this challenge. I like the idea of not knowing how something's going to turn out, to have my supplies, to gather everything, and then to sit and just kind of play. That is what this feels like. It feels like playing with an end goal. Like, I know I have to make these look good, and it's not daunting because the stakes aren't very high. It's not like I'm taking someone's handcrafted mask and painting that, which I would never do. So the first thing I'm going to do with these horns, these just plastic horns, is I'm going to put a base coat of black on them. That's the starting point. Because I'm working with acrylic paint, once it's dry, it's very difficult to clean your tools. So I'm actually using some things from the recycling bin to put my paint into instead of my wooden pallets that I use for oil painting. I just have these little plastic trays that there were like green chilies and curry leaves in these from H Mart. So I saved these, and I'm going to use these as my palette. I also have some brushes that are not like my fancy oil painting or watercolor painting brushes. Lizzy warned me. She said, don't use your nice brushes with acrylic paint. But it's so much better to use just a cheapy brush, which for this project, it's not important that the brush strokes be covered. They might actually add to the thing. I love these enamel trays. Whenever I'm antiquing, I'm always looking for enamelware. This is like probably from the, I don't know, 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s. They're still making enamelware, but they're not making as much of it or in the variety that they did in the past. And these enamel trays are they're so handy because you can transform like any surface, your kitchen table even, into an art space by just putting the enamel tray down. They're so durable. You can scrub them and wash them. But one of the reasons why I like these enamel trays is it just sort of mentally puts me into another state. Like, okay, officially I'm going to work on a project now. There's something almost medical or surgical about this enamel stuff. It's like what you see in old movies or old TV shows when there's a hospital room. All the stuff is enamel. So what I'm going to do, if I'm doing watercolors, I just put everything directly on here. But because it's acrylic paint, is I'm just going to line the tray with paper to make cleanup easier. Now, I'm going to paint my horns black. I do have a reference. I have the video that I took a little while ago of the sheep, and I'm going to constantly reference that video, especially as the details start to come into painting this. The layering, there's something very beautiful about the transparency of real animal horns. It's like a transparent element to them. My plan is to layer the colors and to use not just paint, but an acrylic medium. So the benefit of using acrylic paint is that you can mix it with all these different mediums, and the one that I'm going to use is something called fine pumice gel, which has a body and a thickness to it, but is kind of transparent, translucent. And that is a quality that's very important with these animal horns. Like when I was really looking at the ram's horns, there's parts of them that look like a fingernail. Not completely clear and see-through, but semi-transparent. So to create that, what is it called? Keratin? To create the look of that really natural element, I really want to put on color in layers that's semi-transparent. This acrylic paint it's high quality acrylic paint. It has very good coverage. It's not the Craft brand or any of the Craft brands. It's golden. You're so golden. Harry Styles. If anybody watching this video has a connection to Harry Styles, maybe they know him or related to him, can you please ask him to be my boyfriend? I really want Harry Styles to be my boyfriend. Harry, you want to be my boyfriend? Okay, these look great. It's very nice coverage. Now, I'm going to let them dry before I move on to the next step, which is mixing the acrylic medium with a different tint of black and then adding some texture. I'll wash my brush. See, this is the thing about using acrylic paint. You don't have to ruin a brush. If you keep a sort of a cup of water nearby while the paint is still wet, wet the paint and gently get it out without pushing it up into the ferrule. This is the ferrule. And if the paint goes up in here and dries in there, that's what ruins a brush. So as I was painting, I was being very conscious of not just like really being aggressive with the brush. I was trying to keep the paint at the base of the brush, or at the tip of the brush, sorry, to preserve the brush. And now I'm going to go wash this with soap. Proper brush care. Just because the brush isn't expensive, it doesn't mean you don't have to be very good about taking care of it. You know, really try to save every brush and give it a good long life. I'm going to go wash this. Oh, by the way, I'm going to point out something which I'm really happy about. Just fills my heart with joy whenever this happens. Makes me smile. My peel geranium, the cutting that Erica gave me, is blooming. Here's the little red flower, exactly like the painting from 1801. This is the same plant, a descendant of that original plant from 1801. And so it's a really old-fashioned geranium, not hybridized. And the flower is so plain and simple. And when it blooms, it just makes me happy. Look at this. There's a little red bloom. It just opened this morning. And there are a couple of buds that are going to open up. It's the little things in life. You have to notice them. It's then more than just noticing them. It's consciously stopping, looking, and saying to yourself internally, look how wonderful this is. Take the time to do that. Okay, I'm going to wash this brush. Well, I have been tinkering away like for over a day on these, and I've become kind of obsessed. This is the pleasure and the danger in something like this, is you can kind of lose yourself in it. But because it's the paint and the paint takes time to dry, I've had to sort of put on layers and then leave them alone, let them dry fully, and then come back to it. This morning I was like up at, I don't know what time it is. I turn my phone off when I go to sleep, but it must have been like 4 or something. And I was like, ooh, I wonder what they look like. So I turned on the light and I saw some areas that I just wanted to tweak a little bit. So I just put some paint down, did a few little bits, and then went back to sleep. The process over the last couple of days has been putting the paint on, letting it dry, constantly looking at the video of the original RAM, my visit to that RAM in Rhode Island, and inspecting the video to see exactly how the coloring forms in the actual ram's horns in nature. Unfortunately, that video is kind of grainy. It's not very clear, but referencing that has been so helpful in adjusting and tweaking this to make these look real. And I kind of can't believe already how real these look. So I've been painting. The other thing that I've been doing every now and then is sanding off just little areas where I think, oh, I can reveal some of the color underneath by sanding it. It also produces like a different sheen. It's more matte when it's sanded, which on the antlers, there are areas where it's really matte on the real sheep, real ram. So there are spots, like I noticed on the ram, there are spots where the horn becomes this beautiful like bone color, like a yellowish ivory, like a really warm yellowy ivory color. And then in there are like gray black striations. Some are bold and some are very subtle. So I've already started putting those in here, and they look like it really from a distance makes it look real. It's those tiny details that make it look real. One of the things that I'm doing when I'm out and about, when I'm really looking, like I'm looking at everything and I'm analyzing what I'm seeing. This takes time and this takes like actual thinking, because I do feel like that exercise of looking at something and analyzing it is like a physical, it's like the mental version of a physical stretch. And if you don't do it, and if you don't do it often, if you rely on constantly looking at your phone or you're on the computer to reference something, I believe that your mind doesn't have the ability to remember things visually. I think this was a skill that it comes from a survival that we had. We had to look at things and we had to remember, like where something grew in the forest, and then walking away from it and having to memorize how to find it again before there were maps, before there were devices, navigating devices. And that ability, the ability to do that, has diminished so greatly because of technology. But it is something, because of my painting and drawing exercises and instruction, that I have really tried to stretch and pull further and further and further. Looking at the sunset, looking at a beautiful gradation in the sky, not taking a picture of it, and then coming home and trying to paint it from memory. And that's the sort of thing that, like, the more I do it and the better I get at it, resisting the temptation to take a photo of something and having really to try to keep the photo in my head, that is a skill. And I do believe that that is what enables me to do something like this. Really looking at something, touching it, like I was really touching that ram's horns, and then applying that observation to a project like this. These look great. I love them. Next step. Now, this is something that I did not anticipate doing, but when I was observing the original source, the real Enamel, I noticed that the place where the horns are growing out of his head, because he's an older ram and the horns are really, they're a lot older and more pronounced, the actual transition from his head to the middle of the horn where there's some texture is kind of smooth, but like jagged, like shales in rocks, a rock formation. It's like a staggered, flat sort of surface. And when I looked at these plastic horns, there's this sort of ribbed pattern that starts and is kind of regular, which to me is part of this whole look of these being artificial. So I thought, well, why don't I sort of model something on here, and I need a kind of modeling clay or some kind of paste, and I don't want to go out and get like modeling clay and then have to paint it. I would rather have the thing be exactly this color. So I'm going to make something that is a modeling clay. It is fantastic. It's very easy to make, and it's kind of incredible. I don't think you're going to believe the ingredients of this stuff. And once I share it with you, if you ever need to make anything, like I learned how to do this as a kid. We used to make Christmas ornaments for the Christmas tree because you can make them in any color, mixing acrylic paint into the substance. You can use it for so many things. It air dries. It sort of feels like plastic when it's done, but it doesn't look like plastic. It looks like clay. It's fantastic. And the main ingredient is Wonder Bread. So you can use it for this stuff, and it'll dry, and won't ever go bad or moldy or anything. It'll just turn into kind of plastic. So what you do, this is really unbelievable. This is so nostalgic for me because my sister and I learned how to do this from a show in the 90s called Aleene's Creative Living, filmed in Knoxville, Tennessee. We would watch it on our lunch breaks from school. We would walk home, and then we would get our lunch and sit in front of the TV and watch the 1 hour of Aleene's Creative Living. So you need to remove the crust from the white bread. Just take the crust off, and then you tear the bread into little pieces. Okay? And I'm going to make enough of this so that I don't run out. It's better to have more than less. And so maybe I'll use 3 slices. Okay. So it can't be, I don't know if this would work with like real bread, like bread that you baked in the oven, or if it's like from an artisanal bakery. I think it needs to be this bread that has whatever, enriched flour, thiamine, mononitrate, riboflavin, blah, 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 monoglycerides, all that stuff. All that stuff is just great for making a modeling clay. It really, you just won't believe this. Okay, so you put the bread into a container that is disposable, because the next ingredient we're going to add is this white glue. Now I add white glue, PVA glue. I mean, on the show they used Aleene's tacky glue, which is still available. And that's what my sister and I would use. So you add white glue, and then you add the paint, like the color of the paint that you want. You can add more paint as you go. Now, this is about to get messy. You, seriously, just take this all and mix it up. And this is going to just seem so bizarre. It's going to seem crazy, but it really works. So right now it just looks like a big mess. But as you knead it, and if it's too sticky, just add more bread. But you have to do this a few times before you understand like what the consistency should be. But like in the beginning, it'll feel like, oh God, this is just a mess. But as you knead it, it becomes congealed, or like it becomes just cohesive and smooth and like a modeling clay. And you really just have to commit and mix this. And I'm thinking I'm going to add more paint now. And this stuff can be painted. So I am aware of the fact that I don't need to match the color of the horns that I currently have, because I'll be able to paint over it if I need to. I do want to get it close though. Okay. Back to work. Yeah, I forgot. The paint really does help to pull it all together. Texture feels better now. Still a little sticky. Look at this. So I've been mixing it and then walking away from it, mixing it, walking away from it. I might have added a little too much glue. So maybe, because I haven't made this in a long time, start with less glue. You can always add more, but it really is forgiving. Like it will dry. It's all going to dry the same. It's like the working capability of it that changes, like with the texture. So I'm just going to add more paint. The smell is funny because it smells both like white glue and that Wonder Bread, the fake. This is why it was a very good idea to put paper on the enamel tray. is part of the fun. I mean, to me, I know a lot of people would be like, ah, I can't stand that feeling on my fingers, but I think it's good to become a child every now and then and just play with something that's kind of gross and sticky and strange, because really the results are going to be great. Like what this is going to do to the horns, it's exactly what I need. Yeah, and the color's great too. I'll put this on and then I'll apply a little paint afterwards, because in order to make it that dark, I would have to add a lot more paint, which I don't want to do. Okay. So I'm going to just let this sit for another 5 minutes or so before I work with it. You can see it's already like, when I roll it, you would never know what this was. It looks like Play-Doh, but it has more of a elastic consistency than Play-Doh because of the glue. I guess it's just like a starch. It's a starch paste, which has been used traditionally for thousands of years. There. Okay, let's set this aside in a clean tray. It's a good thing I had all these disposable trays. And I'm going to leave that for 5 minutes. Okay, let's see. It's great. It's perfect. You can roll it around and shape it, and now I can pinch it and it's not sticking to my fingers. So this stuff has quite a bit of working time. I'm going to break it in half, and then sculpt this into a form that fits around the base of these horns. See, that's good. Just sort of, I don't have to be precious with it at this point because I just want to get it on there, but I have to be careful of not closing that seam, the opening where the Alice band goes in. But actually now adding this over top of where the horn was glued onto this felt is a very nice transition. So it can just be, and because there's glue in here, it's going to naturally adhere to whatever I put it on. Okay. So I have in mind what the ram's horns looked like, and I'm going to try to emulate that. It's like, it was like this kind of thing that I could see on the ram's horns, like where there were these transitions in, I guess, the years that it took for the horns to grow, one year to the next. when I was small, we had all kinds of school projects or events at school, and some of them required like costumes. I would always get so excited about dressing up, and I would have these very grand ideas of what I wanted to look like and what I wanted to wear, and my poor mom would have to deal with my pleading and pestering. Can you make me this? Can we buy this? The event that kind of sticks out the most in my head is in 4th grade, we studied ancient Egyptians, and I was completely obsessed. I was completely taken and bewitched by the ancient Egyptians and wanted to be one. And at the end of that unit in school, we had an Egyptian feast. And this is something that every 4th grade class kind of famously put on in the school library. So in 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade, I remember that those days when there would be the 4th grade Egyptian feast in the library, and I would be looking in through the windows, completely covetous, wishing that I could be in there doing what they were doing. So when my time came, I was just in heaven. And we had studied something about like Egyptian clothing and jewelry, and the thing that I wanted to wear was a collar, the sort of the beaded collars that the Egyptians wore. So my mom pulled out some silks, like my silk vutti that I would wear to the temple, and she ironed it and folded it and made it into a loincloth based on some photos that from books that I showed her. And then I pestered her to no end about this beaded collar. And my poor mom, she was working, I think at that time she was working like 3 jobs, working at the bank, coming home from the bank, making dinner, then going to the basement and sewing curtains, and then getting up at 4 a.m. to deliver the Toronto Star with my deadbeat dad, who would just drink and then make her go out with him to deliver the newspaper. Anyways, somehow, among all of that, I remember one night when it was the night before the feast, and she still hadn't made this collar, and I was sad and upset that, I might not have this thing, Mom didn't make it. And before I went to bed, she said, "Don't worry, I'll make it." And she sat at the kitchen table, and when I woke up in the morning, I think because she was gone, I was delivering the paper, doing something, on my table or on the kitchen table was this Egyptian collar, which I was completely blown away. I mean, it didn't look like an Egyptian collar. It looked more like something that would be worn at a Caribbean carnival because it was just red, white, and black beads. But at the time, to me, it was amazing, and I had that thing for years, and I wore it, dressing up like an Egyptian. And it's in moments like this that I kind of wonder, when I'm doing something like this leisurely, I wonder what was going through my mom's head when she was making that collar. Like, I wonder if there was any part of it that was actually fun. I sometimes get really sad thinking that maybe it wasn't. It was just yet another thing that she had to do within a time frame, yet another task. And it makes me sad because I do think that these things, for me, bring me so much joy. They're so much fun. I've been very fortunate to figure out how to live a life in which these tasks are a part of my livelihood. And I am extremely grateful for that. Okay. I'm going to just fuss with this for a little bit. But it's on there. They're both on there. and it looks so much better. This is what I was going for. I'm going to use the palette knife. Looks so good. It needed, what it needed was like a real natural looking transition from the smoothness at the base of the horn to these curved ribs. It didn't have that. It just went from like one tiny bit of smoothness to immediate deep ribs. And that's what was making this look artificial. Let those dry. There. Okay. And we'll return to this once it's dry. They're done. This, the bread dough, whatever it's called, the molding stuff that I made out of bread and glue has dried to a darker color. So it's actually the perfect color for what I wanted. I didn't need to paint it. I just painted the transition from the plastic part to the molding compound. And I have to say, I am very pleased with the result of these horns. They just flick the curls a little bit to cover the apparatus. I feel like they look like the horns on that ram in Rhode Island, who we call Dimitri. That's the name we've given him. Well, I'm all set for the ball, except now I need to clean these fingernails. You know, spending all this time working on the headpiece and going to the ball with dirty black fingernails, not a good look. So I do have a little bit of work ahead of me to polish myself up, but that's Halloween for 2025. This is the little piece. Bah.